What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 16, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, of the Seriously Social podcast. We got your social media superstars, Lorenzo and Kaushal here, jam-packed for another session. And just to recap, for most of you that have been watching up to this point, kind of have a general idea of what we do. But Lorenzo and I here are social media agency owners. We're here to break down a behind the scenes lens of what's happening in the world of social media, what are
Yes,
brands thinking
sir.
about. And we got a jam-packed session today of some things that have been happening, some new trends, just some foresight of predictable things that we believe are gonna happen in the industry. But we're super excited for it. So let's get rocking.
Yes, sir. Good morning, morning, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It always feels like it's been a while since we've chatted when we do the podcast, but technically it really hasn't even been that long. But in living in the world of social media, things are just moving so quickly. So it feels like there's a good bit of stuff for us to chat about today. And I'm sure the audience is interested in really us kicking off and getting rolling with what's been the hottest topic in the world of social media. And it's threads. So I think that's where we can get started, and then we have a
Yeah,
few other
yeah.
takes. But let's start right there. What are your initial thoughts about threads and just high level interpretation of what you've seen so far?
Well, you want me to give my thoughts specifically about the platform itself, or what do I think
Yeah,
about the idea behind it? Because I got a few different thoughts that as I was thinking
let's
through all of this, as we've been kind of following it. So where you want to
let's
start with?
let's give them obviously the multiple perspectives, but I say let's start off with just your initial insights on how you feel about the platform.
The platform, I'm I like the idea. One of the things that I'm struggling with behind it is similar to how I used to feel about Facebook and Instagram. I'll give a perfect example of, when Facebook made the idea of cross posting so simple. You get ready to post a picture or video. Do you also want to post to Instagram as a platform? So I used to always struggle with most of the people that follow me on IG are the same people that follow me on Facebook.
For
So
sure.
it's like I'm putting this in two different places. Um, am I cannibalizing my own likes by putting the same picture and all of those different things? So I'm bringing that up because one of the things I'm struggling with is how to process when to use it versus like Twitter and things like that. And so, what's the biggest benefit, which is some of the things that we'll get into today, is some of the questions that brands are asking us of what is the benefit to using both? Is there a benefit to one or the other? And obviously, we know that there's not a lot of data yet out there to help truly answer that question. But that's one of the first things that I think about when I think about the platform is, yeah, what are the true strategic differences between using threads and then using Twitter? And what are the true benefits to it? Or is it just another platform where the same types of things that you're going to be saying on Twitter, are you essentially going to be quote unquote cross posting from Twitter and then just post the exact same thing kind of in your thread? So when I first, as I'm starting to explore, obviously we're learning about how the algorithm's working and all of that. That's the first thing that I think about the platform is the strategic uses of the platform, when to move over your brand, some of those different things. So that's kind of obviously I just opened up a whole bunch of different stuff for us to kind of get into today. But that's the first initial thoughts of when I think about the platform is why? Why should we start to use it? Why? What are your
Not
thoughts?
a not a bad question at all, right? So, my initial insights are, how long has it been now? I think it's been maybe about 2.5, 3 weeks or so. Can't
I was
remember the
about to say
exact
just
date.
maybe a month. I was about to say maybe
Yeah,
barely a month.
or yeah. So let's just say even say under a month, 119 million users. A lot of talk has been about this unfair advantage of being able to port over Instagram users, obviously, and
Yep.
the seamless of actually creating an account on there. So fastest growing app to over 100 million users, I think, in the history. So like I said, some controversy there, but not only that, I believe the biggest thing to really learn about here, anytime in the world of social media, when new platforms are arising or new things are happening, the biggest thing that at least I'm looking for, first, I am a user, and Twitter always was one of my favorite platforms. So
Mhm.
me just like naturally gravitating and understanding what's happening there just happened, and I've had my fun on there so far. But the biggest thing about new platforms is for me is where's attention, right? For us in the agency land, in the world of where we're wanting to make sure we're helping brands be relevant, the biggest thing for us really is like where's attention. So it goes back to you even mentioning that there's not a lot of data right now on threads. There's no way for us to really figure out how many people are seeing it. You can see people's likes and replies, and you can see the engagement there. And I do think there's some good engagement going on there, but you really can't see any of the analytics as far as like who's
Mhm.
actually in your audience, who's engaging with it, who's not engaging with it. So the wild west question ultimately is like, should I be on there? I guess what everybody is asking, and it's for me, it's just even if your moment in time there, the lifespan of it was only 6 months, because the lifespan of the it being a fad is 6 months.
Mhm.
That's an opportunity, in my opinion, to take advantage of, just
Yeah,
because the attention is there. And if you're a brand that's wanting to build awareness, then why not leverage that, even if you don't have all of the hard data at hand? It's a scary thing to do. And
makes
I
sense.
understand like why big brands, typically big brands wait for safe before they take action, which makes sense.
Yep.
But if you wanted to take advantage of it, and there are a lot of brands that have, I just believe when something is hot, that's what social media is. You should find any opportunity to take advantage of it.
100%.
But there's a lot going on there, and um, I'm excited to see what happens. But it is a wild west, like I mentioned.
Yeah, you said a few things actually that I took note of. The first thing is the one thing that I loved about it. I kind of started off immediately pessimistic, some of the negative. So let me kind of switch over. I actually loved the seamless aspect of creating a profile. I was actually
Same.
talking to somebody about it. One of the things about when you create a new profile is you feel like you got to start from scratch. So I got to go through, follow all of these different people, start to get my followers back up. I literally connected it, started my page. I had 50 followers all of a sudden, or something like that, right off the jump, and I was like,
Right.
all right, I like this. I kind of like this. So
A little
I really
dopamine.
appreciate, yeah, you know what I mean? But I really appreciated the seamless aspect of that they made it kind of easy. You
I
also said
agree.
something else that I do think is very interesting in our world. And it's the divided attention aspect of it. And again, I don't know if it's negative or positive or what, but it is just so interesting the world that we're starting to live in, and just
Hmm.
how hard it is to gather and to get in front of specific people's attention for a consistent amount of time. And I actually think
Right.
that's one of the other benefits to brands jumping onto this platform early, is the fact that there is a divided attention. People's attention are over, at any given time. I have to open up my Facebook, then open up my Instagram, then I might check out my
Hmm.
TikTok feed, and I might go down and check out my Twitter feed. Now I'm going to have to go down and
100%.
check out my Threads feed. This is now an opportunity to be in one of those potential five places, because depending on, I may spend more or less time on there. There's less time for brands to own one individual brand, I would say. So now the idea of actually spreading your brand to all of these places where people are going to be at, and their attention is going to be divided across all of these things, I think I won't I won't quite get to the point where I say it's a necessity, but I think it's a strong consideration. So I think that divided attention aspect is something for brands to really take into account and to really consider when you're talking about, should I be on this new platform and things like that. Well, I can tell you
I
there are
agree.
eyes. Now, we don't know what those eyes are doing and different things like that yet, but if you're
For
talking
sure.
about strictly from a BA, from a strict brand awareness perspective right now, you absolutely need to be on the platform. Just that simple. It's an
Yep.
opportunity, like you mentioned, that you will be missing out on because people are there. Now, data will
100%.
start to help us figure out what's the strategy behind your plan to be there. But one thing that we always talk about internally is starting and moving quickly. That's one
Hmm.
thing that brands miss out so much. We went through this when we were starting our podcast. Will it be
Yep.
perfect? Absolutely not. However, what is the cost of lost time by trying to make it perfect?
100%.
Sometimes you
And
got
you
to
can't
go.
even put value to that. It's just
You
like
can't.
it's an unknown.
Can't.
So the only thing, logical thing to do is take action. So
Just that simple. You can always adjust. You can always pivot. Like you said, you can always take a step back if necessary. Um,
100%.
But yeah, no, that's just that simple. Want to hear your thoughts on, you also mentioned the unfair advantage, which is actually something when I posed my initial question of, do you want to hear my thoughts on the platform or the concept behind the platform? Because I find that very interesting,
Hmm.
especially people calling it, quote unquote, an unfair advantage. What I want to focus more on is, what are going to be if this becomes successful, what are going to be the repercussions in social media for stuff like this? For example, what I mean is, what's going to stop every major social media platform from basically
Hmm.
creating their own competitive version of all the other ones that exist? Because this is a true test
It's a good
in
question.
the amount of money they're about to make off of threads. Again, when you talk about, even if it's temporary, even if threads doesn't even start to go anywhere for too long and different things like that, they're about to make a significant amount of revenue in a short amount of time. So yeah, man, what are your thoughts on that aspect of it, and what are the potential, ramifications of, if this does become successful? Are we going to
Yeah.
see is Twitter going to launch a version of TikTok or a version of IG? What's going to
Hmm.
happen with that? Because we've also seen it in the past where typically brands are just, or platforms are just taking features. I'm thinking Be
Hmm.
Real, for example. Be Real ended up not working because their whole point was a feature. It was one specific feature. What happened
Right.
a month later? Every single brand started to or every single existing platform started to launch their own
Integrate
version
it.
of that
Yeah.
feature. Just that
100%.
simple. So, yeah,
It's
what are kind of your
interesting.
thoughts on that?
Oh, but that's an interesting concept, right? Because technology has done this for a very long time, in my opinion. It's a copycatter world out there. It's like
Mhm.
as soon as something hits the market, there's a copy. I think it always goes back to the execution of the visionary.
Mhm.
There's been this big debate of Elon versus Zuck, and it's been funny to watch the memes and everything that you're seeing, and them two talking about wrestling each other, or MMAing with each other, and it's that it's fun. But the biggest thing that I think is important is the visionary that does a great job at building a large community base is going to have some sort of unfair advantage because they're
Yeah.
able to leverage and tap into it, just like you said with threads. The bigger vision for Zuck is, I've been a fan of Zuck and Facebook for a long time, even when the stock was taking a thrashing. This is not financial advice, by the way, either. So definitely don't take it for what it is. But I invested heavily into it. I was like, it's going down, it's going down. People are beating on it. There's a lot of shit happening, this whole privacy issue. But I was like, long term, Zuck is not even thinking about only what he's doing today. Obviously, he is, because being a good visionary, you need to do that. But he's thinking about how he's building out the community for tomorrow also. So just
Yep.
to think about when things start to, it's a long ways away, but VR and what he's doing in the next space of still bringing a mass group of people together, it's almost unrivaled when it really comes to the world of social. But there are other players out there. Amazon obviously has a huge base. They can start to do something in the future. Whoever knows.
Yep.
Google obviously has a huge base of users. So there's the big people that have Microsoft with ChatGPT, huge user base already there as well. So it's like the people that have opportunities to have a base of users and utilize it for the future. Like you said, I don't think it's an unfair advantage. It's that they've done a lot to cultivate that, but those have opportunities to win. Um, but that doesn't limit the opportunities from the other platforms. So what the
Right.
thing
Right.
that I wanted to mention to that is, yes, you're right. As we start to grow into that, those bigger ones will have, let's just say, a head start, so to say. But I think the fact that's interesting about human beings is we're looking for more niche experiences. The more and more we head into the digital age,
Right.
anyway. So it's even like thinking about all of the dating platforms and like thinking about the different ones, whether it's a certain ethnicity, or whether it's city life versus rural, and like farmers, and then different subcasts, and like all in
Uh-huh.
all, it all made sense for that specific user base. And I think that's where social platforms start to lean on. It's like maybe you don't
That's
always see
interesting.
the 100 million, or sorry, 1 billion, 2 billion user base. But those that do will obviously, like I said, have that head start. I do start to see a lot more micro communities happening,
That's very
especially
interesting.
as digital evolved. Yeah.
Well, I think you
That's
hit
why
on one other
brands,
thing.
but right before you get started, because it made me think of something. We talked about this actually also, which is
Yep.
when I was thinking about, when we've talked about brands in the past and what they're doing, it's why they have to think about the 50 audiences they touch, not the five. So one of
Yep.
the biggest mistakes that I think some of these bigger brands do, it's like, sure, you can identify five big subsets,
Yep.
but the opportunity really lies in identifying the 50 subsets and doing an individual approach to them. And that's where
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
win, in
Yeah.
my opinion. So,
One thing that you bring up, you brought up that word community a few times, and I think
yes.
that's actually something that all bit brands, especially larger brands, really need to be thinking through in their head. When we typically, when we're talking about KPIs and all of these different things, people are talking engagement, likes, shares,
Hmm.
ROI, all of those things.
Hmm.
People really need to shift to, how do I build a community? Because to the
100%.
point of multiple things that you said, once you build that loyal community, I think of Mr. Beast. Once you
Hmm.
build a loyal community, you can then start to translate and move that community to all types of different places. You can move that
For
community
sure.
with you as you continue to innovate as a brand, do things differently as a brand. You can shift this community that starts to move with you. So I really think that brands need to really start to focus on that aspect as a goal and KPI of, how are we building a true community of individuals? Because that right
I
there is going
agree.
to have some true serious monetization power in the future.
100%. And it's getting the monetization power is switching drastically, right? Like if
Oh
you think
yeah.
about before the day of technology, where it was like the mass the mass media really controlled a lot of the hearsay, right, of what was being put out there. Then you started to have, television commercials. So the television networks are controlling, really what people are seeing or what people are hearing. Then it started to go into, obviously the different social platforms, and it started to get louder. So we're in the day and age of where it's the loudest, and the brands have to understand that they have to be loud everywhere. Also, going back to what we said at the very beginning of this, which is, why do I have to be on these platforms? Why do I have to do it on 10 different places? It's because, like I said, hitting the 50 subsegments is what's going to allow penetration. Of course, you can
Yep.
cast a wide net, but if you want real depth and you want real value being built, it's by doing it and building these communities. And you're right, as far as monetization goes, it's the creators now, even more so than even just influencers, that have a lot of the leverage, and because they understand what's happening in the world of social. They
100%.
understand more than social, the world of culture, and culture and social tie so close together that if you're not listening to how fast it's moving and what the people are doing, you're just missing out on opportunities all the time. So I
100%.
100% agree with that. I think it's super fascinating. You mentioned communities, and yes, Mr. Beast has done a fabulous job. No matter where he goes, obviously his communities follows. Same thing with these social brands, and actually allows us to segue into something that I actually wrote, which is, I
Oh,
think, another brand. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say one last thing I was going to say as we wrap up Threads. Another thing that I initially thought when Threads was released,
What?
is this what rich is this an is are we seeing rich people trolling, like epic god level trolling, because it launched right during all of their beef and different things like that? I was like, is this
Hmm.
what people, when you have that much money, is this what you do when you want to troll somebody? You just build a platform and
That's
just mess with
actually
them
an
and different things like
interesting
that?
interesting take. Hey, look, we're all human beings. In my opinion, we're all human beings. So there's always that side of you as a human being that's like, hey, that's my, I don't want to say, a swing, right? But it's pretty much a swing. And I think it's interesting because at a billionaire status, I guess like those are the types of moves you think about. We're
But you
thinking
do
about how do
different,
we.
man. You troll different.
Hey, that's an interesting take. For whatever reason, though, it's obviously been a smart move on their part as far as initial early success goes. So I agree. They do have that follower. I know before we segue, going back to just that's something I would say everybody been on the lookout for up to this point. Threads has been just really doing what it's wanted to do as far as like showcasing what's been popular on there, pretty much like a For You page on TikTok. But they will have that following feed coming out, so the people that you're following, you'll be able to see that tailored content as well. But just main thing for brands is just be looking out for it. Main everybody, right? Whether you're a user, personal brand builder, business, anything, just be on the lookout, start to play around with it. Worst case, going back to, if you don't have a strategy there, implement your Twitter strategy if you do have one. If you want to scrap it all and just, try some things, I'm a fan of that even. So definitely try it out. But going back to, like you said, the community building, I think this is actually a topic that I had some hot takes about towards the end, which we'll do a little bit of like a lightning round towards the end here.
Okay.
But the Barbie marketing, that's really where it got me, building a community. So this is a
Launches
community
today
that
officially, doesn't it? Today,
is it? Yeah, it is today, actually. I think I heard
yeah,
of some of our team members saying they were excited to go
yep.
catch it today. It's just wild. So I've not ever been that deep into Barbie, obviously. Just not, I was more of like a anime and action figure and superhero type of guy. So not Barbie, but obviously heard of Barbie and grew up in the age of everybody when I was a kid really wanting Barbies. Even to this day, I guess, people still really want Barbies, but a long-term community that, in my opinion, had a lot of hype. I wouldn't say it necessarily died, but it maybe say it quieted down for a little while there, and all of a sudden has came back with a fury of just like excitement and everybody kind of getting nostalgic, even so to say, of really what's happening. And to be fair, I'm not gonna lie, being a fan of marketing in the world of marketing, they have crushed it in
Oh
everything
yeah.
that they've done in the world of marketing. So I want to dive into some specifics of some of the things you've seen there, but just overall, how much have you heard about
Oh well,
Barbie?
you already know, man. I've heard all types of stuff about it. It's crazy. So I live in Los Angeles, obviously, and they actually built a Barbie house. And a few
I
weeks
heard about
ago,
that.
as part of the big promotion, they actually allowed you to. They were given free stays in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you could stay in it for free. They put it on the Airbnb. You could come and get a free night stay in it. So imagine what that did when you talk about social media, word of mouth, all of that different stuff. So their marketing campaign is uh, um, a beautiful show of how to leverage an audience that cares, but then leverage their voices and really get that and let that start to rock and roll, because that's all free
100%.
advertising and free marketing. Like obviously they've paid a ton of money into the actual promotional marketing of it.
Hmm.
So I had moved from Birmingham, so a lot of my followers or a lot of my feed is still Birmingham based and things like that. I saw
Hmm.
a big party that's happening this weekend where it was all like Barbie themed, and like they had like
Hmm.
local influencers who had like that kind of Barbie graphic in their face and the different Kens and the different Barbies and different things like that. Like people are latching on so much to this that
Right.
it's created a viral storm of marketing that they haven't even had to pay for. So imagine the residual that they're kind
Owned
of getting
media.
from that. Um,
100%.
I think I think two things that are interesting also that they were really good at capitalizing on. It's that right now people are really yearning for nostalgia. There's
Hmm.
money in the nostalgic aspect of it. I think about the Super Mario Bros. Movie that just happened a
Yeah.
little bit ago. That was extremely successful. They weren't sure how successful it was going to be,
Right.
and then it was a hit. It was a huge hit. So there's a right now people are the nostalgia is really trending.
Hmm.
People want to kind of revisit their childhood. It's easy to do things like that. And then the second thing that reminds me of when you made a comment, and it's the resurgence of things that were once super exciting, then they kind of drop and disappear, then they kind of come back. That's
Right.
just a trend around so many different things, like so many different things. If you actually take a step back and look at it, it's extremely cyclical. I'm a big shoe guy,
Hmm.
and most people know this. Jordans, for example, literally, yes, they start to come out with new ones and different things like that. Bro, they just released the same brand, the same style, the same different thing every 10 to
Revamped.
15 years. I was reading
Yeah.
a thing on Nike actually, and Nike actually talks about it's so cyclical and so
Hmm.
predictable that yes, they got to spice in and sprinkle in the new things and stuff like that, but they literally down to a year have
Science,
already
probably. Yeah.
planned the new retro releases that they're going to do. And it's the same releases that they released in the 80s, same releases that they released in the 90s, same ones in the
Interesting.
early 2000s. And then they just timely recycle that because people just I don't know, is it that people don't want to let go of the past? Is it that people love to
I
reminisce
think
about the
it's.
past? Is it
I
is
think
it
it's the same.
comforting?
Well, I think it's the same we've learned our entire life. Right? Like history repeats itself because maybe life itself is the cycle. I don't know. This is getting deep into philosophical
You
areas.
about to
So
go
to
all
be
the way
frank,
to that?
as far as like why we continue to do the things that human beings have, done for even in our short lifespan, but have continued to do. It's an interesting viewpoint. But understanding that, I think you're right. Like the greatest brands have started to break it down into science and understand that. And I think it's why it's been hitting on a point why brand building and IP is important. Because
100%.
if you do it for the long term, which is what it's supposed to be for, you will continue to have those cycles. And
100%.
it's all about the longevity of it. And that's why I said you have to stay relevant in the now. You have to take all of those opportunities. You're going to have it's just like at bats at sports, right? You're going to have some that you strike out. You're going to have some that you hit to first and second base, and you're going to have your homers at the end of the day as well. But if you play a 20-year career, it's hard to say that you're not a legend at the end of the day. So I think it's the same for brands. It's like the longevity of it, the IP building, the brand building, all of it's important because. And if you do a great job as a brand like Barbie, going back to what we're talking about, and Nintendo and Disney and all of these brands that continue to, it's like sure you evolve, but the nostalgic at one point or another always hits with one
Yep.
generation, or in the next
Yep.
generation, the next, and it'll carry. And I think that's something to learn from the Nikes and from the Disneys and these brands.
I was
I
going to
think they've
say
done a good
Disney's
job
the
of, yeah,
bro. Disney's the one of the main proponents of what we're talking about right here. I
100%.
can't believe how much money they make just off of remaking the same video again and 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 again
100%.
and again and again and again.
It's
And
insane.
but it is something good for brands to have kind of in
It
their
is.
back pocket. Just because you did it and it was successful doesn't mean that you always. So, like for example, we are always thinking about innovation. It's one of our,
Mhm.
we talk about it all the time. We pride ourselves on it. We're always thinking, what's new, what's next, how can we be different? All of those things.
Right.
Sometimes brands forget that to lean into what made you successful to begin with, and even it is appropriate sometimes when something happened and you knocked it out the park a couple years ago, may not be a bad idea to re-bring that project back out. I know it's easy to be
For
like, well, no,
sure.
we did that. People are going to remember it. Man, people have the shortest memory.
Literally. Literally. So much
People have,
information that they just move past things so quickly. So I think all of those are, and if it doesn't work, like you said, there's 1,000 other things that you can probably come up with that you could have tried. So it's like you
yep,
really don't have the alternative. Is you just have to try to do as much of it as possible. And it goes back to I actually made a video about this. I think it's like in this world of like maximizing. Everybody is so worried about maximizing that they want to make sure they hit it on the very first attempt. And it's like, who scored more points? The person that was 1 for 1 or the person that was 8 for 100? And I was like, the person who was 8 for 100, right? So it's like you can try that one at bat, or you can try to shoot 1,000 shots, and hopefully you land on multiple of them. So I think that's
100%.
it's
Action,
easier said than done, also, right? So it's like I get it.
100%.
Big companies, public companies, they have a lot of things that are happening. So easier said than done, but if you can figure out ways to operate with that mindset and that perspective, I think it has its advantages at the end of the day.
100%. Again, we'll keep talking about it. Speed is always of the essence. It's just
100%.
that simple. You can always
Yeah,
adjust, you can always pivot, but like again, get that V1, that version 1, get it out there.
I agree.
It's even the data that you're able to collect is something that's going to be able to be used in the future, because at the end of the day, no matter how much you prepare, no matter how much diligence and different things like that you do, and
Hmm.
again, I'm a big supporter of doing all of that though, it still is conceptual until you put it into action. You can do
I
all of the
100%
proper
agree.
planning that you want to, execute on it, and it still has the chance to not work out.
I
That's
100%.
just the reality of the situation. It's not guaranteed because you waited a little bit more and you put more thought into
No,
it that now it's for sure going to be successful. That's just not the way that things work. So speed
no.
is always going to be of the essence.
Yeah,
It's yeah, just that simple.
it is. And last thing I want to say about the Barbie brand, because like pretty much everything we've talked about for the last 4 or 5 minutes, they've literally been the I would say the ideal case study of a brand that, like I said, long term has built IP. Obviously, it's still relevant, but kind of resurrected itself, and it did exactly what you and I touched on earlier, which is it didn't just send one big message to the masses. It hit the 50 segments
Yep.
And not even through social. Obviously, you and I are just like deep in the world of social and big fans of social, but in the world of marketing, they did what any smart brand would do. They hit everything. They did
Yep.
social media, they did the billboards, they did the activation, like you said, they had micro activations in major cities. They relied on creators and influencers to carry a message. They did one of the bigger things that I think they did well in a world where everybody's trying to compete and tear each other down is they had massive brand collaborations with
Oh yeah, yeah,
Crocs
yeah.
and Ruggable and action figures. And all they did is work on building that brand through community, to be frank,
Yep.
and leverage their own community, but not only their own community, communities of other relatable and relevant brands, and build like this massive marketing message. And I think they just, like I said, I can't harp on it enough, but I truly think, being just a fan of the world, they did a massive job of a successful campaign, in my opinion. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be excited today to, go catch the movie. So
I agree. I agree. You going to check it out?
like I said, I'm not the biggest Barbie fan. No knock on it, right? Like I said, it's not my style. But
uh,
I'm super, like I said, super excited for them, and I think they did an amazing job. And many people are going to be happy tonight. So I am excited about that.
you sure? I mean, not gonna make you go see it. She not gonna drag you.
Uh, I really don't know now that you mentioned it if my wife really is that deep into Barbie either. She always grew up more of a tomboy, so she was like always sports and tennis is like something she is a huge fan of. So it's like I don't really even know if she was ever that deep into Barbie, but right,
That's funny.
yeah, you never know.
That's
All right.
funny.
So I know today we wanted to do a little bit of a faster paced show. And then we do have to head out. So it's a little bit of a shorter one, but I do want to, in these last 10 minutes or so, talk about really two things. One of them is the big one, which is still TikTok, and I don't think we can ever like not harp enough about what's happening in the world of TikTok. And then I think we save about 5 minutes real quick for a few hot takes that I have, and just wanted to share back and forth thoughts on some of these hot takes. Okay.
Yep.
So let's start off with TikTok.
Okay.
The big thing about TikTok, right? It's, I wanted to at least have a small segment on this episode about it, just because it is still a force of nature that I really don't believe businesses, brands, individuals are taking advantage of. And really this term of the creator economy almost, right? But
Mhm.
TikTok has done such an amazing job of um, building this creator economy to where like good content is what is valued, and there's a lot of different aspects to good
Mhm.
content that not only influencers are the ones, so to say, that are relevant anymore. It's anybody that's a creative that really can put out something that entertains people, that brings value, that people find fun. And there's a lot of people that can do that, even if it's at small scale. So one of the things that, in my opinion, that's TikTok understood is now how do we help these people not only obviously gain that exposure because they've built these communities, and like I said, it's the creator economy, but how do
Mhm.
we help them monetize? And I think that
Yep.
obviously all of the social networks have, started to play their little part in doing this. But I think TikTok is in a wave right now of just trying to really help build creators up and help them
Yep.
start monetizing. So the two things that I wanted to bring up is obviously TikTok Live, a big initiative that they have. We have some obviously insider insight there, but we won't say too much outside of it. It's a huge initiative of TikTok, and if you're a creator,
Yes.
going live right now is an opportunity I would recommend. And then TikTok ads, I think they've started to ramp up hardcore on
Yep.
TikTok ads because a lot of the new developments. So I'll allow you to give opinions really on both areas.
Yes.
But the one thing I want to note about TikTok ads is they've started to roll out pretty much like a Facebook ads library feature. Right now, it's only in the UK, but where you can see other ads of other, competitors, brands,
Competitors and stuff. Yep.
profiles.
Yep.
Yeah. So just a little bit more insight there. They've started a starter kit for brands and businesses that they didn't have before up until recently that really allows a very easy way to be frank of getting started on the ads platform,
Yep.
starting your campaign, starting to spend money there. All in all, they're really emphasizing spending money on TikTok, right? Just
Yep.
because a lot of attention still here. They want more and more brands. Ironically, yesterday never seen this up until yesterday. So I maybe some other people have. I haven't though. But you used to get ads when you're on the For You page, and you're scrolling every now and then you see an ad or sponsored ad come up. I actually was scrolling on one particular person's profile and scrolling through the profile, and in between the posts, you would see ads pop up now. In
Yeah.
between that one person's post, it's like being on a feed, and sure, you have your feed of like everybody and you've seen ads there. I've never seen ads on, like, if I was to look at your Instagram profile and I was going through your posts,
Interesting.
I've never seen an ad in between looking at your post. Now, I don't understand if they somehow have an idea of like, hey, because Lorenzo's interested in these things and you're interested in Lorenzo, you may be interested in these things
Also,
type
that
of vibe
yeah,
going
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Like I said, the person's profile, I didn't really have much context about them. That's obviously somebody that's famous. So it's like, I don't understand. Maybe they were showing those ads because of that, but it was just interesting. Like I said, first time I saw it yesterday, but I think they're going hard on live and hard on ads, and two big opportunities, whether you're a brand or an individual, to leverage.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. And when it comes especially to the live aspect of it, so if you are a creator and you are listening to this and you want to get some information about that, please reach out to us. We definitely have some things we would love to talk to you about how you can monetize it, some resources that we have for you. Um, Also, we're talking about as low as 1,000 followers. That's one of the awesome things that I think that I do want to
100%.
mention is that they're really looking out for the quote unquote little guy. You know, they're really trying to figure out not the massive, 150, 250 macro influencers who are already monetizing and doing that. They're really putting out a lot of the resources that you talked about for
Hmm.
the more average, and I won't say maybe average, but yeah, the more average, everyday type of user to still start to monetize and really start to get something out of the platform. So
I
um,
agree.
yeah, I think that's one of the only things that I wanted to add to that aspect right there is that yeah, this isn't you don't got to have 15,000 followers. You don't got to have 100,000 followers. You can have literally as little as 1,000 and potentially even less than that. There can be some potential exceptions for. So
I
yeah,
agree.
definitely reach out to us in that aspect. Yes, they are
TikTok's
going hard
huge.
in ads. I have not seen the experience of what you're talking about right there, but now I am going to go just play around with some pages. I typically spend a lot of time not on like the larger pages and different things like that.
Same.
So now I want to go kind of play around and see if I can get that. I haven't seen that experience yet.
Yeah. First time
The,
yesterday. So I don't know if it's something new or not, but it was interesting for sure.
so the newest interesting thing on TikTok that I've saw is this new mashup or this new wave of people acting like AI.
Oh,
Please tell me
interesting. I've
you've
seen
seen
that.
some of those
Yeah. Yeah.
pages.
I have.
So now that is something that I'm having a very
AI, man.
interesting time wrapping my head around. So for all those that don't know, a new live trend or just a trend in general on TikTok is people like regular people who are acting and imitating as if they're an AI or what's called a NPC, a non-playable character. So the idea behind this is that there isn't the what's the word I want to use? There isn't the complex conversations or any different thing like this. It's more acting as if I'm a standard piece of computer that's just taught to respond. So
Right.
there's one, for example, where I was watching a young woman on this ice cream page that she has, and literally, as people are dropping stickers and things like that,
Hmm.
she's responding to it as if she was like a computer program, just like reading the acknowledgments and things like that. So on it, she's
Interesting.
just like, so like Kaushal would like it. She's just like, thank you, Kaushal. And then like somebody would drop like a sticker of
Ice
like an
cream.
ice
Yeah.
cream of an ice cream
Yeah.
cone. And then she's like, ice cream. And then every time somebody would, so that's like, ice cream was like her response every time a sticker would happen. So it'd be like,
Mm,
ice cream,
ice cream.
ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. Thank you, Kosho. Thank you, Lorenzo. Appreciate, or thank you, blah, blah, blah. Ice cream, ice cream. She had an entire live with thousands.
The live is crazy, bro. I agree with you because that one is interesting and fascinating in its own world. And I've seen some other interesting ones as well where people are like playing card battles, and people are doing weird things like saying, "Hey, if you do these, if you send me these many stickers, I will do weird things like jump into a pool or spill milk all over myself." And like Yeah, it's obviously, like I said, be fun, bring value, entertain people, educate them, whatever means it may be. But if you can
Man,
cultivate that community, it's an interesting time for sure.
it goes back to what you mentioned earlier of there's a niche out there for a lot of things. A lot of times
There
we're
is.
thinking about, again, just like you mentioned, how do I make content for the broad, or how do I do all of those
Hmm.
different things? There is a niche, y'all, for almost
Everything,
everything that can
100%.
possibly exist.
I agree. I think this is actually a
um,
good topic for next week's episode where we can talk about how people in the past have been afraid to do the things that they love because they feel like there's not enough money behind it. But in this
that's a
creator
great
world,
point.
I think there's, like you said, in any niche, if you really are passionate, you go hard at it, there is a way to monetize to an
That's a
extent.
super
And
great point, man. I think
I
that's a
think
super
that's
great
something
point.
we can talk about. All right.
Yep,
So
yep.
to really end before we hop off, I actually wanted to do something new we've not done on the episode
Okay.
before. But I wanted to do some like a lightning round of hot takes where pretty much I'm going to give you, 4 or 5 different high level, I would say like future trends that I kind of see happening in the landscape. And I just want you to pretty much like thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs down type of situation.
Okay.
Real quickly see if you agree or see if you disagree. That's it. We
Gotcha.
don't have to dive too deep. Hopefully, there's some
Gotcha.
feedback, and if anybody wants to get into a topic, we can. But just want to see real quick what your thoughts are on these. Okay. So first hot take is influencer marketing is going to continue to be stronger than ever.
Yes.
Employee advocacy is probably the next big wave that we start to see from B2B focused brands.
Yes. I think it goes into point one or question one.
Okay. I like it. Going into the world of AI, you mentioned this. I think we're about to see a whole shift of what's communicated on social and how it's been communicated to be impacted or done by AI.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be interesting. We can talk about that. The next one was the creator economy. So it's funny that I had this, but I believe creators now have more leverage than influencers. Going back to point one, I believe influencers still are going to be stronger than ever, but creators, in my opinion, have more power than influencers.
Yes. Creators own the community that influencers are just impacting.
And um, talking about, I think this is the theme of the entire episode, honestly, today, if we wanted to sum it up, social media is going to be more community driven than it's ever been in the history of its time.
Yes. Did
Hot
you set
takes,
those
I
up to all
think,
be yeses?
yes. In my opinion, yes. I would love to be wrong, obviously, just because I don't think I know everything, but I do believe that these were easy yeses to agree to, and even though they were easy for you, because like I said, we're in it. I hope brands realize that these are opportunities they probably aren't thinking about, and how do
Yep.
they lean into all of them? So,
100%. 100%. I like that.
all
I'll
right,
come up for next episode. I got you.
you
We'll
just
wrap it up with another lightning round. I got you.
I like it. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody again. We appreciate your time. Today, like I said, a little bit of a shorter episode, but let us know in the comments if there's anything else you'd like to hear, if there was anything we touched on that you have. We would like to dig deeper into the next episode. Like we mentioned, we do have guests upcoming. Those are getting lined up. But we're
Yep.
super excited and we
Some good
appreciate
stuff
it.
on the way, y'all.
Yeah. And thank you everybody. Have a good one.
Hey, appreciate y'all. Have a good day.